Hello, everybody. It's Tim here again. Here with a new movie review. This time for James Wan's *Malignant*. Now, I'd put off watching this movie for a while, pretty much because my wife wanted to watch the movie with me. Just to jump into the film here, James Wan, as a horror director, I don't think he's a horror master or a master of horror like some other ones like John Carpenter and Wes Craven and George Romero. But he is a good horror director, in my opinion. I thought The Conjuring was great. I thought Insidious was great. I thought. Insidious 2 was good, but very flawed and muddled story towards the middle. Conjuring 2 I thought was pretty good. Not as good as the first one, but close. I didn't really like the whole defeat of the nun with saying her name or whatever. That's just kind of lame to me. But as far as this film goes, *Malignant*, this movie is really dividing people on the internet. People either really liking this movie or extremely hating this movie. I've seen very few in between with this flick. Now, as far as like my personal opinion on this movie, I go from 1 to 4 stars with movies. In my opinion, this would be almost a two. This would be a three. This is a good movie for what it is. Now, let me explain this. I'm a horror fan. I grew up on 80s horror movies, early 90s horror movies. I like all types of horror. There's so many different types of movies in the genre. There's real horror classics like The Exorcist and The Shining. Then there's B horror flicks like Basket Case, Puppet Master, Demonic Toys, all them types of full moon stuff that was made in the 90s. This falls under that, except just on a higher budget. That is the only difference here. James Wan, this has made a B movie with this. This is a silly B movie film. Very silly. The plot is honestly stupid at points with certain stuff in here that's just not explained at all. But it's fun. The main actress here does a great job in the film. I really liked her. She lives with her abusive husband. She's had like 3 miscarriages. One day, we see her abusive husband killed by something that kind of looks like a shadow. It chases after her. She gets knocked down. She wakes up. She's lost her baby for the third time. She had 2 other miscarriages. Her sister shows up. I like the actress who played her sister. Some of the side acting for some of the side characters, like these 2 police officers and some other ones, is just kind of okay to weak at times. And there's like this girl who works at the police force who has like a crush on the main male cop or whatever in the movie. She could have been totally wrote out. She was pointless. And he's like, he joins the investigation. I didn't really care about him at first, but by halfway through the movie, I warmed up to his character and liked it. Despite the fact that his acting was still just kind of okay, the character won me over because he starts chasing after the killer, and they have this big action scene where he's like dodging the killer, trying to slice him up and stuff, and the killer manages to get away. But it's a really cool chase scene, and the fact that he's able to keep up with the killer was pretty cool. The killer has like real long hair down in front of his face, so you can't really see who it is, and he moves kind of like the woman from The Ring, Samara or whatever, or Samara, however you say it, where she like twists her arms and stuff like that and moves like that, kind of like a puppet or something. Um, and the killer moves like that, and there's some like lighting in this film that feels like it's straight out of like a Dario Argento Italian giallo type film where it's like real red lighting and stuff like that, or like a Nicholas Winding Refn like artistic horror movie, like art house horror movie, like the Neon Demon or something like that. Like this real red, like bright top lighting that feels like it's puts you in a fantasy world. You get that at certain points. Pretty much the woman in the film, the main character, she is like seeing like the point of view of the killer from her eyes, who's like killing people, and he's taking out like these medical people who used to work at this sanitarium type place where we find out she used to be as a child where she was given up, and basically you know where this is going if you've seen enough horror films or you have a good enough idea of it. The fact that she's seeing through the eyes of the killer and all that kind of stuff means that more than likely this is some like psychic connection from like a conjoined twin thing. That's what I thought. That they were going to be like 2 twins that were separated at birth or something. But they do kind of twist it around in the climax when they do reveal the truth, which I did like. Um, you get to the big twist where she's at the police station and she's in there and you find out that yeah, it's like this conjoined twin thing. You knew it was coming if you've seen enough horror movies. It's like stuck to her back. That was psychotic. It's just born psychotic. We don't know why. There's never any explanation. It's just crazy, and it like tries to compel her to commit murders and stuff just for no reason, just in order just to do it. And basically it was attached to her back, and a pretty cool effect straight out of like an 80s B movie. It's so weird to see a film like this made today for a major motion picture release. this isn't just James Wan doing something different. This is like something different for the horror genre. This film, like, I mean, for today, like these types of films just aren't really made anymore. Not mainstream. There's still some direct to video, but these type of films are not made for mainstream. It was really weird that this film got made for mainstream, and I have to believe that the reason it was probably done is because James Wan had clout after Aquaman and stuff like that with WB and with the Conjuring universe and all that, making so many billions. And this film has flopped, from what I know, and mixed reviews. So we're probably never going to get any kind of continuation from this or any kind of like James Wan future film done in this style again. He'll probably just go back to ghost films most likely, which at the same time sucks, but I can understand it. You got to do what sells. But yeah, we find out that even though they removed the conjoined twin, part of it was still inside of her head, and it takes over her body and like comes out the back of her head, and that's why it has long hair down his face because it's her hair from the back, and he's like still part of him is in the back of her skull, and it comes out, and he basically got awoken when she was in a fight with her abusive husband at the beginning of the movie, and he hit her head against the wall. I kind of figured that was why though. Once they revealed that he was still living in the back of her head, that had something to do with activating him or something. We also find out he like killed her other three children by like feeding off of their embryos or something from inside of her to grow stronger. Like I said, there's some plot holes here of stuff that's not really explained, but it's typical B movie type stuff if you've seen those types of horror films. Like when he takes over her body, she gets super strength. Not explained, no explanation. She just has super strength. She gets super agility, no explanation, not explained. He just takes over her body, and she gets super agility. It's a total B movie plot. It's not explained at all, but it's fun when you get to the action of her at the place at the prison when the Gabriel, which is the name of the evil twin, takes over her body. He's like ripping everybody's hearts out and stuff, and he breaks out of the prison cell and starts massacring the police office. And he's beating up on one of the cops, and the cop's partner, who's like this black chick that kind of looked like reminded me of like Wanda Sykes almost, like hits him in the back and goes, "Get the f off him," which was pretty funny. And he like turns around and jumps out of the place. He's got like this homemade weapon he's took from like a trophy or whatever that belonged to one of the medical workers who helped separate him, or the main one that did it, I believe. And he pretty much kidnaps their biological mother of him and the main woman. And she falls out of the roof of the chick's house, and of course they think she did it. And that's when she goes into jail, and she gets took over and pretty much breaks out. You get to the main ending of the film. He's took over her body. He's come there to kill the mom, who the police have took into like hospital custody. Once again, the action at the police station is really cool, really fun. He gets there to take her out, and friggin', you can see like her point of view from inside his mind, or inside her own mind, where Gabriel, the evil twin, has took over her body, and she basically has to retake control of him. And anytime he takes control of her, he puts her in a fantasy world or whatever. And that's the reason she's able to see stuff that he's doing when he has control of the body, because she's still in her own mind, basically. But he's able to put her in a fantasy world to where she thinks she's still at home and just living her life normal. And she manages to do the same thing to him when he gets ready to kill her adoptive sister, who they have good chemistry in her. The two main female actresses do. I liked both of them; they were good. Um, but she managed to take back control, put him in a fantasy world where he thinks he's killed the adoptive sister and the birth mother, but he really hasn't. And she just locks him up in a prison. He's like, "I'll get out eventually." And she's like, "Yeah, no, and I'll be ready." And so it pretty much ends like that, with her taking back control of her body and having full control. And she walks over there and lifts this thing off the top of her sister, like hospital bed or whatever that the Gabriel twin threw on top of her. She lifts it up and she just uses her super strength to move it. Once again, it really makes no sense why she has super strength. This is a bad, silly script, but it's an okay script for a silly B movie like this. Um, and she lifts it off the top of her, and they hug, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. Happy ending. Yeah, like I said, all in all, I'd give it a 3 for what it is, a silly B movie. This is a good time for people who are fans of that type of stuff. If you aren't, you're probably not going to like this. There are different types of B movies. There's B movies that know they're B movies, and they don't try to be anything else. This film tries to take itself seriously, which makes it even more funny, really. Um, this is one of those B movies that doesn't know it's a B movie, that's trying to be a homage to other stuff, but at the same time be a movie that you can somewhat take seriously or take seriously. And you really can't. By the end, this plot is ridiculous. But it's still a fun B movie for what it is. It's good to laugh at and just have fun with. And that's exactly what this is. It's a bad script, but it's a fun, enjoyable movie for the action and all the crazy shit that goes on in it. So yeah, all in all, 3 out of 4. A good time for what it is, but Not really a good movie, but a good time. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.